This is episode number 195 with Leanne Venier.
New concepts and ideas to help you reach your full potential. Reach your full potential. Reach your full potential. Small win, small win, small win. Keep your momentum going.
The Success 101 Podcast.
Welcome to the Success 101 Podcast. This is your host, Jared Warren, and each episode, my goal is to bring you a new concept or idea to help you maximize your full potential. Thanks for joining me here today. Now let's kick things off. Oh, it's on. Are we live? You did that so fast. Phil's a master around here. Guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the Success 101 Podcast. Super fired up for what's going on this week around my financial planning practice, the advisors that I'm working with. Brought 5 more people into my coaching setup this week. And I don't know about you guys, but any entrepreneur would tell you that when things are rocking along and so much energy is going along with that, you can't help but be excited. It's when all the crap hits the fan that you got to remember to stay on the rails, right? So with that in mind, I wanted to mention to you guys, the coaching programs are still available. I've gotten great feedback from the people who are going through those. Absolutely loving getting to know some of you on a deeper level that are going through that. And if you haven't checked it out, head over to success101podcast.com/coaching. There's 4 models to choose from there. You've got the transformational life change module. That's the highest value. That's where we're going to go deeper than any of the other modules. There's 4 modules to choose from over there. The transformational life change module, that's where we go the deepest. The personal planning and development module, which has been the most popular so far, surprisingly to me. We go super deep in that one, around 8 individual sessions together. There's the 6-week blueprint creation module, where you just want to get down your thoughts on paper, create a blueprint for the vision and goals that you're chasing after. That is an awesome 6-week reset for anybody who is stuck in a rut or says, look, Jared, I just have not been able to really articulate my goals and my vision. I'm not a big creative, big thinker type of person. We're going to really line it out there. And that's an awesome reset for you if you're stuck in trying to get your vision going in the right direction. And then lastly is a monthly program, the monthly progressive growth and development. That's a monthly session where we continue to work together on the boxes you're trying to check off for where you're going. And then we create a whole bunch of new boxes that you can check off as well. So head over to success101podcast.com/coaching. Pick one of the 4 models there that works best for you. We'll get on the right track together real quickly, and I cannot wait to see those of you who sign on how much life change and business change this is going to bring about for you guys. I'll mention real quickly, we are also sponsored by Blue Apron. Blue Apron bringing you the best in meal service delivery. Many of you have heard me talk about this before, but I just love to have a lot of fun with Blue Apron. Cooking is not what it used to be, especially with these delivery services. It's fresh, it's clean, and I'd encourage you just to have a ton of fun with this. Get a good bottle of red wine or your drink of choice, put out the ingredients, make these meals, have a ton of fun with it. Don't just cook. Nobody wants to do that. I don't care if you're living by yourself. You can have a ton of fun with this. They've even got wine pairings on the website. So when you go on there to make your order, you can see what wines pair with this. Get into trying out new different types of wines. That's something that I love to do. If you're not a wine type of person, find what works for you, but just have a ton of fun cooking, and Blue Apron makes that happen. They really are the Netflix of meal delivery services. I've got 2 offers for you right now on my website. And I had my team set it up this way where both of these offers are geared toward people who maybe haven't tried meal delivery services yet. They don't know if this is for them. And it allows you to dip your toe in the water, so to speak. So the first one is based around their new Mediterranean diet, which is phenomenal. It's awesome. But you're going to get $40 off your first 2 boxes that you order. First 2 boxes, $40 off. Again, great way to slide into it. See if you like it. I know you will. And get to try their new Mediterranean menu, which if you look at the health benefits of the Mediterranean menu, I'm so glad Blue Apron is bringing this out to people. It's so awesome. The other offer that you can also find on my website is 3 meals free. This has been the most popular one that you guys have latched onto, but it's 3 meals free on your first Blue Apron order. So you make a full order, which by the way, these meals, they break down to less than $10 a piece if you're working off their main menu that you order from. You can do some more specialty stuff on there. And it's a lot better than a lot of the less than $10 per meals that I find out anywhere else that I go, and I don't get to have a lot of fun with it. But this is 3 meals free on your first Blue Apron order. Go grab these offers at success101podcast.com/Blue Apron. Again, success101podcast.com/Blue Apron. You're going to see both of those offers there. And I can't wait to hear from you guys that have gone and dove into this because I think you're going to love it. Lastly, this show is brought to you by Ample, A-M-P-L-E. Head to success101podcast.com/Ample. Go check out what the team over there has done to put an incredible meal in the bottle. I've talked a ton about it before, so I won't go into a ton of it right now, but super high quality fats, super controlled carbohydrates with a low glycemic impact that you need to keep your brain and body working all day. Probiotics, prebiotics, some of the most amazing sourced nutrients from around the world that you can't find anywhere else. And even if you did, you'd have to spend a ton of time putting all this stuff together. Ample makes it super easy. You wake up, you put water, or if you do what I do, you put a little bit of milk in this bottle, shake it up, you're on your way out the door. I saw an advertisement from them the other day where they were putting cold brew coffee down in their Ample. I haven't tried that yet, but I'm super excited to do so. Mix it up, ton of different ways, however you want to. You could even put juice down in this thing. But design this thing however you want to. The important thing is you've got a 400 or 600 calorie, incredible meal replacement shake that is ready to go. Head to success101podcast.com/Ample. You're going to get 15% off your order. And I look forward to hearing from you guys that go and snag that. Be sure to head to that website, success101podcast.com/Ample, so that they know we sent you. And go grab your 400 or 600 calorie shake today. You're going to love it. Now, on to our awesome episode today with Leanne Venier. This is one I've been excited to put out for a little while here because the world of red light therapy. For any of you guys who have studied red light therapy, some of my doctors out there that tune into the show, some of my neuroscientists, some of my molecular biology people that I know that tune into this show for peak performance, a lot of you guys know a lot about red light. A lot of you out there may not, but red light is a pretty awesome thing when it comes to energizing your body, your mitochondria, your cells. And I don't know about you, but if there's anything that I get excited about when it comes to peak performance, energizing and growing at the cellular level really gets me fired up. That's what Leanne's going to talk about today. But she's the leading global authority and pioneer in the science behind healing effects of color, light, and photobiomodulation. And we'll blow the lid off today also on a little bit of the myth behind red lights that are being sold out there today. There's a lot that's being sold that's being claimed to have healing effects or have neurogenerating effects that don't really do what they say they're going to do. Leanne goes into that. That's another reason I wanted to have her on the show, is to really debunk some of the myths of some of the leading red light therapy companies out there and what they're doing and what they're not telling you or what they are telling you that's not true. We're going to break down a lot of that today and how Leanne's product is different. I think you guys are going to enjoy this, and I cannot wait to bring it your way. So without any further delay, let's jump right into my conversation with the one and only Leanne Venier. Hey guys, welcome back to the Success 101 podcast. As always, this is your host, Jared Warren. So excited to be here with you today and excited to have our guest, Leanne, on.
I'm super excited to be here too.
So thrilled to have you on today, selfishly for many reasons, but also red light therapy and red light device, primarily around some of the people I follow regarding testosterone in men. But I know that there's a host of benefits for people out there. Mm-hmm. Also, just so many other things that you are working with people on in the area of peak performance. Tell us a little bit about that background, fill in the gaps for us.
Okay. Well, to a lot of people, it sounds like I'm doing something completely different today than I've been doing, throughout my life. But really, I have one constant, which has always been using natural healing modalities for living an optimal life. But my first professional career was as a mechanical engineer. I used to design submarines for Lockheed, which was not a great fit for me because working in the corporate realm was kind of life sucking. So that was not a good fit for me. If you're an entrepreneur, you can relate to this. I left engineering and I moved to Italy for 7 years. I studied all kinds of alternative healing modalities. I'd already been studying alternative healing modalities while I was working as an engineer, including methods for optimizing brain function and these various aspects of the brain that we don't typically tap into. And one of the things that I learned early on is how profoundly we are affected by color and light. So I moved to Italy, studied all these alternative healing modalities, how we respond to color and light, how we utilize color and light in our bodies, how they affect emotions, how they're directly connected to the meridian system, which is the energy channels through our body. And after that, I came back to the United States and went back to school for acupuncture and Zen Shiatsu. So I'm an Eastern medicine physician as well. I spent time time having my own healing practice, working with cancer patients and doing more research there. And then I decided to stop doing the one-on-one healing work because I felt like I had all of this knowledge and information, and I wanted to bring it out to the world in a more effective, efficient way than just one-on-one patients. You know, you only have so many hours in the day to see people. I decided to start painting while I was still doing the healing work, just as a creative right brain outlet, you know, and for getting into flow state. And my paintings took off like immediately. In the first year as a painter, I was winning international awards, and it was just really bizarre how quickly it happened. And then I, you know, kind of realized afterwards what happened, because when you're tapping into flow state, when you're getting into that optimal state, you know, that brain state where your brain feels like it's on fire and everything is just click, 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 click. The color is the catalyst for tapping into flow state. So it was when I started showing my paintings that it became this visual field for people to have these very strong responses to the color, because I had already put together all of these, connected all these dots between all of these different ways that we utilize color and light, and also did my own research. And then, you know, bringing in hardcore medical scientific research to validate what we've known for thousands of years, and basically connecting all the dots between physics, biophysics, medical research, all of these wavelengths in color and light are in sunlight. So connecting the dots between all of that, the electromagnetic spectrum, and explaining to people how it all works. I mean, I started teaching about this 10 years ago, way before anybody was giving any credence to light therapy. And it was my teachings that were the catalyst, again, for getting people to start paying attention, because I brought in hard science, knowing from an engineering background that if you want to educate people that are very left brain and logical, and they need that hard science to be able to open their minds to something new, then I knew that it's like I need to bring in the hardcore medical research to validate this. One of my very first, you know, lectures where I gave a presentation was at a major medical center that was down in San Antonio. And then I was asked to come up to UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas. And before that, I'd been doing national radio interviews and all kinds of things, because as soon as I put information on my website, I started getting contacted for, you know, magazine interviews and to do radio interviews and things like that. And then I started doing live presentations and kind of connecting the dots for people, so that lay people, medical practitioners, and other people who don't have any holistic medicine background and don't have any physics background, so that they could understand it the same way that I had seen all of these disparate fields of study and connected the dots between all of them. And biophotonics is another very important aspect of all of that.
Yeah, and it's so important to back that up with the research behind it, with the medical field, with giving talks and presentations at hospitals and medical facilities like you did. Mm-hmm. It's another thing to carry that a step further, though, into the red light therapy that we'll be talking about today, which has healing components to it. How did you jump that bridge to saying, okay, I know how different colors affect people's brains, different things going on in their body, the chemical reactions in their brains, those sort of things, to I'm going to create my own red light therapy? Were those things even being talked about back then for people to say, hey, can you create your own light therapy? Like 10 years ago or so, however far back, were those things even a thing? Because I feel like maybe they were in very small circles, but
you on Amazon, you know, even like 7 years ago, you could find these little handheld units that were, you know, mostly designed for getting rid of wrinkles, because that had been brought into, you know, the cosmetic industry a long time ago, because as soon as they realized, oh, red light does, you know, gets rid of wrinkles and gets rid of hyperpigmentation and does all this amazing things for your skin. So that's where it was adopted first, on a broader scale. And people could buy these little things on Amazon, and there weren't very many of them. And most people were like, well, this doesn't really make sense. You know, how's that working? But, you know, the thing about the beauty industry, people will spend a lot of money on things that, you know, if you put some hype to it, then they'll be like, okay, I'm going to give it a try. And they'll spend hundreds of dollars on little things like that, just in the hopes of improving their skin. But these things actually did have some effect. They were not really that effective. I mean, a little bit effective, but you had to spend a lot of time using them because they were small and they didn't have very much light output. So you had to be pretty dedicated to using them.
Right.
So there were applications like that. And then from a very long time ago, you used to be able to get little near infrared devices for, shining on your joints, or these little laser pen things that you could shine on your joints for arthritis. So there was a very small...
Which I'm sure most people thought those were a hoax.
Yes, exactly. It was very much like, well, that doesn't make any sense. How can this has got to be placebo effect if it works at all. And again, they're very tiny devices and, somewhat effective. Of course, they were going to be because you can take any kind of red light or near infrared and shine it on your skin. It's going to have some kind of mitochondrial stimulation effect. So you can't not have that effect, but it's the degree to which the body will respond to, the output of light, the wavelengths, and basically the size that you can cover. I just want to teach people. I want to share with people things like the importance of getting sunlight that has all of these healing wavelengths in it, and debunking all of the mythology that has been propagated about sunlight causing cancer, which it does not do. In fact, the more you avoid sunlight, the more likely you are to die of anything. Like all-cause mortality is directly correlated with reduction of sunshine. So the less sun you get, the more likely you are to die of anything. It's been low levels of sunshine have been directly correlated with pretty much every type of cancer as well, to the disservice and the poor health of so many people because they're avoiding sunlight. And that's like a huge nutrient for the body. And I use this analogy, it's like nobody would even think of, if you have plants in your home, nobody would think of taking a plant and sticking it in a dark closet and thinking that that plant is going to survive. Or even sticking certain plants will, live under artificial light, but they'll never thrive. And depending on the colors that are in that artificial light, they will grow more blooms, or they'll grow more leaves, or they'll get long and stringy or whatever. So, and we know this, there's been a lot of research obviously done in the medical marijuana industry and about using certain wavelengths of light for growing plants. So
I think it's the skin issue. I think most people say, well, yeah, plants don't have skin, all the skin issues that we have as humans. I think that's what most people would look at. Of course, you wouldn't stick a plant in a dark room. We're not plants. How would you speak to that about the whole skin issue?
Yes. Yeah, this is a very good point, because now there are a lot of people out there that are selling plant grow lights, industrial plant grow lights, as though they're for human use. Any of those that have that metal casing that have fans and motors in them, right, they're plant grow lights. I mean, it doesn't matter how they're rebranding them. They're just plant grow lights. They're those really high output lights that a lot of people are seeing. They're like blinding light. And I've had a number of people that have come to me because I only launched my lights a year ago now. And before I launched mine, people were buying these other ones, or, they see the marketing for these other ones, they buy it. And then they're like emailing me and like, Leanne, I bought this thing. And it's like, I feel depleted after I use it. Instead of it gives you this burst of adrenaline because it's such a strong, overwhelming light, but then they feel depleted afterwards. So it was all these people emailing me and lamenting because I'm like, I watched your videos and I believe that this is true because it makes sense. When I connect the dots from A to Z for people, you can't watch one of my videos and not get it by the end. And so the first thing that people would email me about, this was,
you got those on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I have most of my videos. I've probably got about 5 or 6 from this past fall that I haven't had a chance to put up there yet. But a lot of them, the Bulletproof one, I was a speaker at Bulletproof conference last year. That's a very good kind of overview one that kind of connects all of it in 1 hour. So you can kind of get full picture. And we live and thrive directly in relation to the amount of sunlight that we're getting. Sunlight has all of these colors of light within it, because if you think about when you see a rainbow in the sky, this is how in my talks I always start off with a really basic physics primer where people get a refresher on, okay, what is the electromagnetic spectrum? What does that mean? What is in sunlight? And basically in sunlight, we have visible light, which includes the colors red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And when you combine all of those colors of light together, they form white light. So when you're out in the daytime, it looks like, oh, this is white light and there's a lot of blue in the sky. So because there's the predominance of blue light that's coming through in the middle of the day. In the morning and at dusk, you get more of the red, orange, and yellow. The longer wavelengths come through. So the sky looks red in the morning and before the sun sets. So you don't get very much blue light, the shorter wavelengths. So, but those colors, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, are always in the sky when the sun is coming up or when it's up, overhead. So you're getting bathed in those colors every single time you go out under sunlight. And depending on the time of day, the percentage of each of those colors will change. So the other thing that comes from sunlight, we've got UV, which means, ultraviolet, which means just outside of the violet, you've got infrared. So infrared, they've broken them down into 3 different categories. There's near infrared, mid infrared, and far infrared. And they do different things in the body. They just happen to have the same name.
I think a lot of people hear that. I know I did long ago before I started reading on this stuff. And I thought, oh, that's one classification of light. Those are all the same. They kind of do all the same things.
Right. And that's where, because there's the word red in it, which means, it's below red. People think red, infrared, all the same thing. There is commonality between red and near infrared. And nanometers are the measure of length of a wave, if you're talking about light as a wave form. So you can measure, and like I said, the longer wavelengths are colors like red, orange, and yellow. Shorter wavelengths are colors like blue, indigo, and violet. Violet being the shortest, red being the longest. 600 to 700 nanometers is red. Visible red light, meaning that humans can see it with their eyes. Above 700 to 1050, 1100, some people say 1000, near infrared. Everything from 600 to that 1050 or 1100 or 1000, whatever cutoff you want to use, that all stimulates mitochondria. Mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cells. So the powerhouses of the cells create ATP, adenosine triphosphate, in the body. So that's where if you shine red or near infrared on your cells, those mitochondria, those battery packs or powerhouses of the cells are going to create energy in the cells. So that's where you can get all of these healing effects at a cellular level in the body. And I in my light therapy device, I use synergistic blends of wavelengths because there's not just one wavelength that's the best for everything. And this is what a lot of these light therapy device sellers will try to tell you. And this was actually something that I believed early on as well, because they keep, saying, oh, this is the best wavelength. This is the best wavelength. And it's because of the way that medical research gets funded that you have to, if you want to get funded for something, you have to prove something that's already been proven. So because of the earliest research, started on 660 nanometers, and then they hypothesize about why it has these benefits. So then they're like, well, we think it goes in the deepest and this is the best for the blood or whatever. And they come up with all of this conjecture as their conclusions, which I found out because some of my very good friends are medical doctors and researchers, and they've told me, it's like, this is how you have to just basically make stuff up at the end and say, we think we got these results because of blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter how wildly speculative it is. They just have to put something there. So this is where...
Which seems like it would be illegal, the more I study about this stuff, because I have many doctors who are clients of mine as well. Mm-hmm. And it's like, even to get reimbursed by insurance companies nowadays, they have to make this story in the client's file about all the reasons they did these tests and all the reasons they did this. Right. If there's not a real story behind it, it's like, well, no, we're not reimbursing you. That's out of your pocket. Yes. It's like, well, let's just make up a bunch of stuff.
They have to fight to get reimbursed. So yeah, it's like, there's a Roswell Cancer Clinic on the East Coast. I spoke with the original developer of photodynamic therapy. They had this treatment modality using light for treating cancer. It was very effective. And even though they were healing people and getting rid of their cancer, the insurance companies were saying, well, no, we're not going to reimburse you because you weren't supposed to use it for that application. And he said, well, yeah, but it worked. So they had to actually get on the phone with the insurance companies and explain to them how it was to their benefit and how much money they saved by not having to do all of these other follow-up expensive procedures, because it's like, we just saved you a whole bunch of money by actually healing this issue instead of you having to pay for more and more medical procedures and tests like that. So then they would go, okay, that makes sense. These medical research studies are published. And of course, there are all sorts of them that are not really viable, that are published in these what are called non-peer-reviewed journals, which is basically, how anybody can publish a book on Amazon now, a Kindle book. You can publish a research study on a lot of these different websites that are not peer-reviewed. Peer-reviewed means that it has to go through an approval process to be able to get published, and that they've validated that your science was sound, and all of these other requirements before you can get published on peer-reviewed journals. So what you're seeing now is people quoting studies that were done on mice, for example, about boosting testosterone levels. That's one of the many mythologies. And I'm not saying it's not a possibility. I'm just saying that nobody has validated it in humans, nor has anybody come up yet with actual blood work to say this is actually doing this. I mean, I have all kinds of reports from my customers, male customers, that are using them, and the symptoms that they're getting: dramatically boosted muscle performance, for example, increased energy, increased stamina, increased libido. Those would all suggest that they are getting increased testosterone levels. But I will never say that unless I know, somebody's actually done blood work to prove that.
Right.
But
right.
What we can see are the results, and we are getting all kinds of reports like that. But so when people are out there saying, oh, this, triples your testosterone level, that's just marketing hype, and there's nothing to substantiate it. And if people dig deeper, then they realize it's like, oh, well, what's this based on? It's based on one research study in a non-peer-reviewed journal that was done on mice. And again, not to say that it may not be true. It hasn't been proven.
Right. And let's clarify that for our listeners, because you did just say that all of the signs point to increased testosterone. And so you're not going to go out and stick your neck out to say that when it hasn't been officially proven as that being the case.
Yes. Well, I tell people, look at results, look at actual results, look at testimonials, look at what customers are saying before you make decisions, because what the growing trend, and this is 100% why I ended up, finally saying, okay, I'll manufacture and sell my own device, because I got fed up with seeing all of this marketing hype for people selling these products, because, it's like, okay, well, I validate the science of light therapy, and now all these marketers are jumping on the bandwagon and saying, hey, let's just slap some LEDs into a casing, or let's get one of these industrial grow lights, and then we'll throw a bunch of science at it and make it sound really sciencey, and we'll quote, research studies that say that this is the best and that sort of thing. But they're selling the hype. They're not selling reality. So when people are actually using the light, you'll find that it's like very minimal results, if any, from people, or they're getting like they're feeling depleted from them afterwards. But anyway, so it was like this growing glut of these kind of, light therapy device sellers that were jumping on the light therapy bandwagon, and but because of the fact that people kept emailing me, it's like, Leanne, what should I buy? I threw away $8,000 or $2,000 or whatever amount of money they threw away. It's, to some people, that's a lot of money, and they're really wanting to heal. That's kind of what motivated me to finally do it. And I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I had been, experimenting with different wavelengths, in addition to reading literally tens of thousands of medical research studies and connecting the dots between those. I have a much deeper understanding of how light affects the body, that there are so many things that scientific research hasn't even been able to experiment with yet. There are lots of wavelengths that haven't been, tested in the medical research realm, because that's how medical research is. It just takes a really long time. There are so many different wavelengths, and then to be able to do a comparative study, between this wavelength, and this wavelength, and they certainly can't do what I've been able to do, which is take combinations of wavelengths. I found that when you use certain wavelengths together, they harmonize together. So you can take certain wavelengths and combine them together in the right proportions and the right output strength, and the effects are synergistically much stronger than just using individual wavelengths. So that's another one of the reasons that the rejuvenators are proving to be so extremely effective.
If we look at just what I've looked at in the past, which a lot of mine, being a guy and following certain people out there in the athletic or peak performance world, it was around what we were just talking about, was testosterone. Not that women don't build testosterone. Most testosterone advice out there isn't great. You alluded a little bit to that, and most people know that. But whenever I started looking at red light, near infrared light, or even like low-level laser therapy and things like that treat muscle aches, healing, skin issues, even depression, those sort of things, how does it work, first of all, for people who may have never looked at this stuff at all? How does it work from treating everything from wounds to joints to brain fog to skin issues, anything else you want to name out there, and maybe things I don't even know about yet. What is the science behind it? And really, how do your devices help people with that?
First of all, I'm going to give you another analogy, which a lot of people are familiar with, because so many babies these days are born with, or they're not born with jaundice, but they develop jaundice within a few days of being born.
Right.
Have you heard about that? And,
right, correct.
And in the hospital, they will take the baby and they will stick the baby under blue light. It's not UV, it is blue light. And that started in the 1950s. They accidentally discovered this effect on babies with jaundice because they put a blood sample of a baby with jaundice in the windowsill. This was in a hospital in the UK. They took a blood sample from the baby with jaundice. They sent it to the lab. The lab worker went on a long lunch break or whatever. He stuck the blood sample in the window. When he came back, there was no sign of the baby having jaundice because it's like, there's what I'm looking for is not here in the blood. And they said, well, the baby has jaundice. It's like, go look at the baby. So what they ended up discovering from that accidental thing that happened is that something in the sunlight changed the blood. And then it took them some time to narrow down the fact that it's like, oh, it's the blue light. And now we know it's actually blue-green light that has an even stronger effect. And there's always a range of wavelengths.
I always thought it was UV. I've got three kids and they always get stuck underneath those lights. I always thought it was UV light.
And they will. I've talked to so many medical doctors that say they told us it was UV in medical school. And it's like, I can tell you beyond the shadow of a doubt, it is not UV. It is blue light. Some hospitals use green. Some hospitals use just white light, like sunlight. But you can take your baby and you can put your baby under sunshine. It will heal the jaundice exactly the same. There's a smaller percentage of blue light in the sunshine, but it's going to do the same thing. It will just take a little bit longer. That's an example of where people have seen on a broad scale how light has this dramatic change in the body. And what it's doing in the case of bilirubin, from a chemistry standpoint, the blood absorbs the blue light. You shine the light on the baby's bare skin. It gets absorbed into the blood through the skin, and the bilirubin that is circulating in the blood, which is what's making the baby turn yellow, and at high enough levels can be, threatening to the brain. It can cause brain damage at high levels. So it can be a dangerous thing. So you shine the light on the baby's skin. The blood absorbs it. The bilirubin itself absorbs the light, and it changes the isomer structure of the bilirubin. So it goes from being a fat soluble to a water soluble form so that it can be excreted in the bile in the urine, meaning that the baby can release it from its blood very easily once that isomer structure is changed. It's kind of like, vitamin E is a good thing for us, but it's fat soluble. So if you can actually overdose on vitamin E,
right,
you can take too much of it and get negative side effects. So red light doesn't get rid of bilirubin buildup in the blood. Blue light does. So what red light does, it does what we do know from a chemical standpoint, because again, everything in Western medicine is based in chemistry. So chemistry is what you can see in the body. You can measure cells, look at cells, look at molecules, look at what's happening with, chemicals in the body. It's all chemistry. What you have to look at to understand what the effects are at a chemistry level is understand that it's the light that's doing all this, but it's at a quantum physics level. So you have to go down to the subatomic level to understand the trigger mechanism. So because Western medicine is based in chemistry, they look at the chemistry, which is the side effect, the results downstream from what's happening at the quantum physics level. And we know this. There's a school of research that's been going on, since the 1970s is when they validated biophotonics with machinery technology that now, validated the fact that we not only take in light into our bodies, we actually emit light from our DNA. We emit light from our bodies, and you can measure this. And in 2009 at Kyoto University in Japan, they now have a camera, a very sensitive CCD camera that can photograph individual biophoton emissions from living things, whether it's humans or plants or animals or whatever. But you can actually photograph these photon emissions, light emissions, as individual photons coming off of these living things. So plants emit photons, humans emit a smaller amount of photons. So you can kind of get an idea. Plants are meant to be out under sunshine all the time. They're, that's how they live completely off of sunlight and nutrients in the soil, obviously. Humans can't handle that quantity of light like plants do. We don't need that much, but we do need it. We need a certain amount of sunlight, a minimum daily requirement amount of sunlight, which is how I call it. We talk about it like color and light vitamins. Again, you have these physiological effects that are measurable at the chemistry level, like red light stimulating mitochondria and red and near infrared. So you can see the effects of ATP being generated in the cells. So the reason that, for example, my lights are extremely effective for doing all of this, they work at the skin level, treating things like eczema, psoriasis, dermatitis, rosacea, getting rid of wrinkles, hyperpigmentation, hypopigmentation, because what it's doing is it's bringing the body back into a point of balance. If there's an excess of something, it reduces it to normal levels. If there's a deficiency of something, it increases it. At the skin level, muscle level, whether it's for pain, inflammation, muscle tears, muscle injuries, boosting muscle performance. That I have a lot of competitive athletes that are using my lights for boosting muscle performance. It like really dramatically increases performance and reduces delayed onset muscle soreness. That's a really easy thing for people to see instant results from, because it's like if you work out and you know that you do a really intensive workout and you're going to be like sitting on the sofa for 3 days because you're in so much pain you can't even think about going and working out again, it gets rid of that very quickly. So you not only have faster recovery times, it optimizes your muscle performance so you build muscle more quickly.
For someone out there listening who says, I'm not an ultra high performance athlete, I don't have healing that needs to happen right now, I'm not really looking to boost testosterone, if that's what this does. What are other benefits for the average everyday person getting up that's just looking to thrive in whatever environment, avoid fatigue, burnout, those sort of things? What other benefits are they going to find from your devices that they can use and feel very quickly the results from?
Okay, well, let me finish the other levels, because just at the physical level, you've got skin, muscle, bones, joints. So if people have any inflammation in the joints, arthritis, things like that, it heals all of that as well. Again, by getting rid of inflammation, increasing blood flow and stimulating the cells to actually heal themselves. Also with wounds. So you can see it really quickly. Wounds will heal more quickly. Bruises, sunburns, things like that will heal extremely fast. And again, this is with my lights in particular. This is not across the board with all red light therapy devices, because a lot of them that are on the market right now are marginally effective. So brain function, I have a number of people that are using it for traumatic brain injury, for healing the brain. When we're using my lights in a upcoming research study at the University of Southern California Keck Medical Center on non-invasive treatment protocols for traumatic brain injury and stroke. And we're also using them in another research study that's medical doctors at the University of Missouri Medical School are participating in. That's again for muscle performance, reducing delayed onset muscle soreness. But this is very important. I mean, muscle growth and, healthy muscle function is important for everybody. And it's something that happens as people get older. Their ability to build and retain muscle gets depleted. So they end up having things like inflammation in the joints or joint injuries, because when the muscles are not getting the energy that they need and they are getting emaciated, that's because they're not getting that energy. There's nothing really wrong with the muscle itself. The muscle is not getting the energy flow that it needs to be able to build and retain, muscle mass. So in elderly people, being able to build and retain muscle is very important. I'm not talking about it at the competitive level. I'm just talking about the fact that you need to have muscle to keep your bones in place. Your muscles hold everything, whether it's your spine or your elbow or your shoulder or your hips. Those are all, the muscles hold you in alignment. So you need to have the muscles that are strong enough to be able to do their job. And when they're not getting the energy that they need, and this ties in with the meridians, the meridians are energy lines that go through our body. So when you have an injury in a muscle or in a joint, there's never a problem with the muscle or the joint itself. It's because they're not getting the energy flow that they need. So if you think of it in terms of like a watering hose, for example, and you have a kink in your hose, and everything downstream from that kink is just getting a little trickle of water. It's not able to get the full flow of water because it's just not getting the volume that it needs. So you open up the kink in the hose and then the water can run freely. But another problem is that a lot of people have very depleted life force energy. I mean, we live in cities, we're living around things like, we're constantly bombarded with Wi-Fi and EMF, which end up then you don't have enough water running through your hose at all. Your hose is on a trickle. So even if you get the energy channels opened up, it's like your gas tank is running on fumes all the time. And you eat food. You see this happen all the time where people, they feel tired. They don't have any energy. They're like, I changed my diet. I'm eating the right foods. I'm taking the right supplements. Everything that they've read, it's like I'm doing all the right things, or they think they are. They still feel tired. They don't have energy. They get stressed out. It's like they feel like their life force energy is depleted, and whether they describe it in those terms or something else that, makes sense for them. But that's basically what happens. So this is another thing that I started getting reports after we launched. I had people telling me, it's like, it feels like I've gotten my life back, because they feel like their whole body is energized, but not like drinking a cup of coffee and feeling energized that way. It's like your cells have life to them again. They have they get this rejuvenated sense. It's easier if, when you read things. I get these emails from people and they go on and they describe things. I mean, I've had people that have said that within one day of using the light, they did back-to-back treatments. For example, they got the light. They were feeling, for months, they were feeling worse and worse and sicker and having all of these health issues. Young people, I'm talking people in their 20s too, that they weren't getting sunshine. They were feeling depleted. This one woman on the East Coast is getting her PhD. She got the light. She said that she had told her parents that she was feeling like she was dying. She literally felt like she was dying. And she couldn't figure out why. And she was doing all the right things with her diet and doing cleanses and you name it. She had tried everything. And so she gets the rejuvenator, and she said, I did 5 back-to-back treatments, like one after the other. I was just like, treating my chest, my back, my legs, everywhere in her body. And she said she felt like if her body was a battery, she had been on 0% charge. And after the first round of treatment, she went to 70% fully charged. And then the next day she did another round of treatments, and she said she felt like she was back to 100% fully charged, like she got her life back. And I can't tell you how many emails that are almost identical to that, this exact same thing. I just got an email a couple of weeks ago from a woman who was, she got the light just for general health and detoxification. She didn't have something in particular that she was really trying to treat, but she said within 5 days, she didn't even know how low energy she had been feeling before, until her energy levels came up and her stress and anxiety levels went down. She's like, I didn't even realize I was in this constantly anxious state, and she was stress eating. So she started losing.
Yeah, it becomes people's new normal. They just don't even realize how they used to feel whenever they were younger or less stressed or whatever.
Exactly. You just think that, well, everybody's like this. Everybody just feels this underlying anxiety all the time. And so she said that what I notice is that I feel so much calmer and happier. This is in 5 days. I'm just talking really fast results. Anyway, so just hundreds of reports like that about the whole feeling like you have your life back, in addition to just countless reports of people rapidly healing things like long-standing injuries, bone injuries. I mean, I have a 90-year-old that healed a broken humerus bone in 4 weeks. I mean, complete break in her upper arm. And that's something that even in a young person, you're looking at a minimum of 6 weeks to heal, to start to heal, to 12 weeks. And then often it will take more than a year to fully heal. And hers was completely healed, completely set bone in 4 weeks, which for a 90-year-old is unheard of, first of all. I mean, even for a young person.
Right.
But I literally have hundreds of these, and there are only a tiny fraction of them on my website, just from lack of time to add them. But I literally get new reports like this every single day. Plus, I have a private Rejuvenator members-only Facebook community. So I let everybody who's using my lights connect with each other and talk to each other and share their stories with each other, because then we're all helping each other to learn even more applications. So it's like my customers are the ones that I'm like, wow, I didn't know that it would treat gastroparesis, this debilitating intestinal cramping that basically lays up people for an entire day when they get hit with these cramps, and all kinds of abdominal issues. I mean, and the list goes on and on. So my lights aren't just healing at the cellular level, where you can actually look and say, okay, we're shining the light on these cells, it's creating ATP, and you can see how, the skin will heal more quickly because of that. So people can thrive and reverse the aging process at any age, literally any age.
So tell me for people who don't know, tell me what's actually going on there, because you talked about earlier in this podcast, charging up the mitochondria and using that as an energy source. But then now people's bones that are healing, people that are feeling unhealthy, what is it actually doing in a biological level or a chemistry level, or just what is it actually doing to heal the bone in 4 weeks, to go back to your other story that you mentioned?
What we know, what we have validated, with chemistry, again, measuring things at the chemistry level, is that it is stimulating the mitochondria, which are like powerhouses that are in most of the cells in the body. So you've got this energy pack in all the cells. So when you stimulate that to kick into gear and wake up cells that have gone dormant. I mean, okay, another good example is like scar tissue. Scar tissue, people think, well, I'm going to have the scar for the rest of my life because my body healed in this way. It's basically the body wants to just make it safe so that you survive. It doesn't really care about cosmetic, how you look on the outside. So it's like, I need to heal this wound as quickly as possible. I don't really have the nutrients and building blocks that I need or the light that I need to do it properly. So I'm just going to make a big, lumpy scar, right, or keloid tissue or whatever, because it's like, I just need to use the building blocks that I've got and close up this wound because I don't want it to get an infection and that sort of thing. So what it's doing is it's waking up cells that are basically there, that have gone dormant, or getting them to regenerate because it's creating energy in the cells themselves. But again, it's putting fuel back into your gas tank that your system is running on fumes and like next to empty, and you're barely getting by. So it's putting energy back into the whole system. But that's not what you can actually see from a chemistry level, is the cells waking up and reactivating. And even like things like hair follicles, for example. I've had a bunch of people, it's like you can grow back hair again, even follicles that have gone dormant. I have like an 80-year-old gentleman that it's like within 3 months of using the light, he was doing his facial treatments and he was, treating it on his joints, and he's doing facial and on the top of his head and not telling anybody. And his wife, like 3 months later, is like, what are you doing to your hair? It's like so thick. And he goes to get his hair cut, and his hairdresser is like, what are you doing? How are you making your hair so thick again? Lots of things like that. So people they think that, well, I've gotten older, so things just don't work as as they used to, or this whole mythology about aging. You can actually get things to start operating in the body the way that they used to years ago. But in things like healing the brain, Alzheimer's, dementia, boosting brain performance, getting rid of brain fog, sleep, that's another one. And hypothyroidism. I mean, like, that's not a mitochondrial thing. It's like, I have people in a naturopathic doctor in Germany that uses my lights with all of her patients. I have a lot of medical practitioners that are using them with all their patients, and including here in the United States, and people with treating their traumatic brain injury patients. But the naturopathic doctor in Germany, I mean, she actually gives me lab results. So she had a hypothyroidism patient that was at very high hypothyroidism levels, and within 2 weeks went down to completely normal.
What is the website that we can steer people to that you most use for selling the lights?
Catalyticcolor.com. That's CATALYTICCOLOR.com. Catalyticcolor.com. And people can also go to my name, Leanne Venier, leannevenier.com, and there are links. They're sister websites. I've got 2 different websites that link directly to each other. So if it's easier to look up my name, Leanne Venier, on Google, you'll get there one way or the other.
Guys, I loved having Leanne on the podcast today, and hope you took a ton away from her peak performance message around color and light and using that as energy and charging up our cells and mitochondria. Awesome episode. If you guys would like to connect directly with me, please shoot my team an email to info@success101podcast.com, or you can catch me in the world of social media on Facebook under the Success 101 Podcast Facebook page, on Instagram under @Success101Podcast, or on Twitter under the name Warren Jared. I'll catch you guys on the next awesome episode. Until then.